In the fading glow of twilight, the town of Midori Hollow fell silent, its streets swallowed by creeping shadows. The last bus had long since departed, and the quiet hum of streetlights cast sickly halos on cracked pavement no one noticed when. 17-year-old Aya Tanaka slipped between the rows of shuttered shops. Clutching her school satchel tight, she walked with a sense of unease, as though unseen eyes drifted just beyond her sight. Waiting in the gloom, the air felt thick, as if laden with whispered warnings she could not hear. Just one wrong turn, she thought. And suddenly it seemed the long shadows stretched like fingers across her path. A cold wind moaned through the hollow, stirring dead leaves, and somewhere, distant, a dog barked once. Forlorn, Aya's heartbeat thudded loud in her ears. But stubborn resolve pushed her onward, believing the walk home was just a few more steps. Then the street was gone, replaced by an alley darker than night itself, where lampposts flickered and died. Her phone was dead, drained of life, as if something unseen had siphoned its spark. A distant echo brushed her thoughts, like a voice she could not place, whispering her name in a language her soul recognized but her mind could not recall. She stopped, terror blooming cold and unwelcome in her chest. Behind her, footsteps, too many, too soft, drifted closer without a sound she could see. Her breath shuddered out in ragged bursts, the silence thick and hungry around her. Then, a whisper from the darkness, not her name, but laughter, low, playful, wrong. She spun, eyes wide, and saw nothing, only the walls of the alley, soaked with midnight shadows that seemed to pulse and writhe as though alive. Aya took a trembling step, and then another, but the path home did not appear. In the distance, a door creaked open, its frame lit by a sickly yellow glow. Inviting, yet terrible, Aya hesitated, every instinct screaming to run. But something deep within drew her toward that sick light, toward the doorway from which no one ever returned. Aya crossed the threshold of that rotten old house, and the door closed behind her with a thud that rumbled through her bones. The air inside was thick, dusty, weighing heavy like damp fabric. Faint light flickered from a single bare bulb dangling overhead by frayed wiring. Shadows clung to the walls, grotesque shapes that seemed to watch her with hollow eyes. Aya felt a chill that seemed not of cold, but of something older, something waiting. Her footsteps echoed on warped wooden boards, each creaked like a whisper from unseen lips. The house was silent, except for the distant drip of water, a rhythm. Like an uneven heartbeat, as she moved deeper, the walls seemed to narrow, drawing her into the bowels of the building. Pictures hung crookedly, faces of strangers whose eyes shone oddly bright in the dim light. She felt their gaze follow her, not with warmth, but with longing. A breeze brushed her neck, though no window stood open, and a voice barely more than wind breathed against her ear. "You shouldn't be here," it said, low and smooth. As though testing her, Aya swallowed, mouth dry, every nerve aflame with unease. She tried to speak, but no sound came ahead. A hallway stretched into darkness, lit only by the bulb's fitful sputter. The walls seemed to breathe, inhaling slowly, exhaling slowly, as though the house itself were alive. Footsteps sounded behind her, slow, patient, unhurried. Aya spun, but saw only the dim hall receding into nothingness. Her heart beat loud, a trapped bird in her chest. One step forward, then another, until she reached a room at the end of the corridor. Inside, dust danced in the yellow light, and shapes cast. Long shadows on peeling wallpaper. At the room's center, a single mirror stood tall, black-framed, untouched by dust. When she raised her eyes to it, she did not see her reflection. Instead, she saw a blurred shape behind her, a presence that shivered the air. She dared not turn. Then a whisper curled behind her ear. Look, look, and remember. Her breath caught, reality trembling like a fragile veil, fear pressed against her like unseen hands. Her voice came out in a tremor, unsteady, strained. Who's there? She whispered. The mirror pulsed, as if in reply. Asterisk, the surface of the mirror rippled like water disturbed by unseen stones. Shapes swirled within its depths, faces, forms, memories not her own. Aya felt drawn closer, as though unseen threads pulled at her soul. She stepped forward and saw shadows twist into echoes of laughter and screams. Familiar streets warped into impossible angles. Houses twisted into grotesque silhouettes. Within the glass, she saw her own face, but hollowed, haunted, eyes rimmed with midnight. She heard distant voices calling her name, not only one, but many, overlapping in a mournful chorus. Her reflection reached out, lips forming words she could not hear. Fear anchored her in place. Yet curiosity pressed her onward. Then the temperature plunged, and frost spread across the mirror's surface like spider veins. The laughter shifted, no longer playful, but horrid, hollow, and beckoning. Aya's breath fogged the air, her voice lost in the cold that seeped into her bones. Behind her, the house seemed to groan, settling deeper into unseen roots. The walls pulsed, alive with whispered secrets best left unheard. A shape drifted past behind her in the mirror, too swift to grasp, too fading to name. Aya felt a chill crawl up her spine, a chill born of something ancient and watching. The mirror's surface cracked, each fissure etching lines like frozen tears. In the fractures, she saw faces, fragments of sorrow, fear, and longing. They reached out, palms against the glass, as though begging to cross over. Aya stumbled back, eyes wide and unfocused. She felt a presence brush her shoulder, warm and terrible. The mirror's whispers slithered into her mind. You belong here. Just like them. And suddenly, the faces in the glass twisted into smiles that were impossibly unnatural. Aya's heart thundered. She tried to turn, but her feet seemed rooted to the floor. The house echoed with a chorus of whispers, rising, falling, a tide of voices demanding to be heard. Silence shattered with a crack louder than lightning. The mirror's broken shards glowed with an unholy light. Aya knew then that this place was not lost, it was waiting. Aya ran, or tried to run, but the hall stretched further than memory should allow. Doorways opened into hallways that looped back upon themselves. Defying logic, each step felt like sinking into deeper shadow. The walls pulsed, throbbed with an unseen heartbeat. A distant cry echoed through the twisting corridors, familiar yet impossible to place. Her breath came in ragged bursts, yet she could not stop. The house seemed to guide her steps, twisting space like threads on a loom. The air quivered with static whispers that curled around her ankles and climbed her spine. A door creaked ahead, lit by a sickly glow, the same light that had first lured her inside. She opened it and found herself back in the room with the mirror. Shattered but still glowing faintly, the fragments on the floor reflected her face. In shards, each piece showing a different emotion: fear, sorrow, longing, Resolve. She knelt, hands trembling, gathering the shards as though they were pieces of truth. With each broken edge she touched, a whisper brushed her mind. Remember who you are. Remember who we were. The voices were soft now, mournful, aching, urging remembrance. Through the mirror pieces, seams flickered laughter under summer skies. Voices calling out in joy, warmth of distant memories she never lived. Aya's heartbeat stilled, confusion and fear entwining like smoke. She stood, clutching the shards that pulsed with light. The room trembled as shadows converged. Swirling around her feet, they rose like ghosts, faceless but intent, reaching for the mirror fragments. The pulse of the fragments grew stronger, a heartbeat, a calling, then a voice, clear as dawn, whispered from within her mind. You carry a light they have forgotten. The shadows recoiled, writhing back into the walls. The mirror shards glowed, brighter, weaving a path of warmth that carved through the oppressive dark. Aya stepped forward, guided by the glow, each breath forging courage from fear. The house shuddered, walls cracking like thundered breath, yet she walked on. The light in her hands a beacon against the night. At the threshold of the door, the darkness pulsed one final time, as though challenging her resolve. She lifted her head, eyes blazing with unspoken truth. The shadows whispered, fading into echoes. And with one step forward, Aya emerged from the house into dawn.